Hello guys, my name is Madhur and welcome to my channel. This is the 28th tutorial in the series of tutorials on Unix shell scripting. In this tutorial, we're going to learn to use the if-then statement in our scripts to make decisions. Now, before I demonstrate the if-then statement to you guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a minute and talk about exit status. Now, I have my terminal here, and if I type in a command, any command, even clear, then what the shell does is it associates a value to the command, and it basically uses two numbers. It uses 0 if the command has been executed successfully, and it uses 1 if the command has not been executed successfully. So if I would use mkdir with the argument new here, and if I would press the enter key, then a folder called new would have been created in my home folder. And if I want to check out whether this was done successfully or not, then I have a lot of options. I can either go to the home folder and find my folder new there, or I can execute the ls command in my terminal and find the directory name new in the output of ls, or I can check out the exit status of the command mkdir space new. And in order to do that, I would have to echo out the system variable $? On screen. So there you go, you see that the output is 0, which means that the command was executed successfully. If I would execute the same command again, then this time mkdir would throw an error message at me because the folder new already exists and it could not create it again. So if I would check out the exit status of this command, then I would see that the shell displays 1 to me instead of 0, which means that there was some problem with the command. Either the syntax was incorrect, or the argument that I passed to the command was faulty. There was some problem with the command, and thus its exit status is 1. It would tell that to me, right? So now we are at the point where we can begin our discussion on if. So what I'll do is I'll open my text editor, and I'll save this script file. And I've become bored and sick and tired of the naming convention that we've been following in this course. So I'll be a little more elaborate, and I'll give a name if-then.sh, that is if-then.sh, to be just a little more elaborate. I hope you guys appreciate that. On the first line, I'll put a comment, something like if then statement in action. Now what I'm going to do in this script is I'm going to ask the user to provide me two names, and the first name has to be the name of a file that exists in the home folder, and if the file exists, then it would be renamed to the second name that has been provided to the script, right? So it's going to be a simple file, and we would use the mv command for renaming, and we've discussed mv in the previous tutorials. In case you don't know how mv works, then you can check out the other tutorials that I made, and you would find mv in one of the tutorials, right? So first I'll have to ask the user to provide me two file names, and I'll display a message in order to ask him. I would type in enter source and target file names. There you go. On the next line, I'll use read to grab those names, and I'll store them in the variables source and target respectively. On the next line, I'll use mv to rename my source file to the target file. Okay. Now what if I want to display a message if this command was executed successfully? So let me first type in the message that I would want to show, and the message would be your file has been successfully renamed, right? But I would want this message to show up only if this operation was performed successfully. So what I would have to do is I would have to use the if statement in this case. So if I simply type in the keyword if before my mv command, then what the shell would do is it would first execute this command, and it would find out the exit status of this command, right? If the exit status would be 0, then it would execute the echo statement, and if the exit status would be 1, then it would basically do nothing, right? But the if statement doesn't work alone. It requires two more keywords. The first keyword that it requires is the then keyword, and the other keyword that it requires is the fi keyword. Now fi is nothing but if spelled backwards, and it's something that you have to put at the end of your if block to indicate to the shell that we've done working with our if statement, and the range of if is only between the then keyword and the fi keyword, right? So I hope you've got this, and the syntax is very simple and the operation is even simpler. It checks whether the command that follows the if has been executed successfully or not. It checks the exit status. If it is 0, then it considers itself good to go. If it's 1, then it does nothing, right? So it's very simple. So I'll save the script file, and what I'll do now is I'll clear my terminal first, and I'll use touch to create a file in my home folder, and I'll create a file called test, right? So test has been created. Now I'll use sh to execute my script file, and it's called if-then.sh, and I have to enter two file names, and I'll input test as the first name, and I would input something else like sample as the second name. So what the script would do is it would check if the file test exists in my home folder. If it does, then it would rename test to sample, and if it doesn't exist, that is if it won't be able to find test, then it would basically do nothing, but the shell would return an error message to me, not the script, right? So if I press the enter key here, then you would see that I get the message your file has been successfully renamed. So that's what the if statement does for you. It checks the exit status of a command, and it tells you and it executes a piece of code, anything that you type in between the keywords then and if spells backwards, that's fi, right? So that was our discussion on if then. In the next tutorial we will be checking out the if then else statement, and it basically gives us another option. In this tutorial we did some work because the exit status of our command was 0. What if we wanted to display another message if the exit status was 1? And in order to do that, we would have to use the keyword else, and I will leave that discussion for the next tutorial. Thank you so much for watching this one. Please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial.